Nick Riewoldt, here he is.
Oh, Nick, always lovely to see you.
What a week.
We don't have favourites, but you're right up there.
Oh, thanks.
Said that to Harley Breed today as well.
I said that to James as I was walking out the door. Don't have favourites, James, but
You're right up there.
you've been a really good boy this week. Really proud of you.
Well done.
He's disappointed today.
Lauren has a beautiful Italian greyhound called Noni who was in here last week when your son was here.
Oh, he was wrapped.
And we got a text very early this morning.
Yeah.
Is Noni coming in today? James wants to know. And unfortunately, no Noni, and as it turns out, no James.
No. That was the rider. It's cost me, though. You've cost me, Loz.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, well, no, but, I mean, you've cost me in terms of now, when we get to the end of the footy season, we've had to succumb. So now we've got to get him a fish.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's like, I want a pet.
a fish
I
is
played
good
with
start.
Noni, so fish is as much as we're willing
I think a fish is a good
to
start.
do. So
Yeah.
first a fish, and then we've said 2 years, and we can get a dog.
Yeah,
Nice.
Because 3 under 6,
It's too
it's
much.
too
Because
much.
they're not going to do anything with the dog.
Nothing.
Whereas at least James now, you can see if he's going to feed that fish, and we
Yep.
can talk about responsibility around
Yep.
fish ownership.
Trouble is, he loves fishing.
Oh, well, he's going to be very confused
Yeah, he's-
when you go into his room. He's fly fishing. What are you doing, mate? Stop killing all your fish. This is the 14th fish we brought you.
very good.
What would you like to talk about
Well,
football-wise? There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on this week. I mean, Toby Greene's dominated the headlines.
What
this
did you
week.
think?
I'm-
It's a week fair?
I mean, I'm a so-called footy expert. An analyst. I'm paid to analyse the game. That's my job.
Yes.
I'm very lucky to be able to do that, by the way. So I get to the end of the week, and I was reflecting this morning. So at the start of the year, you could, round one, we had the opportunity. David Asprey.
Yep.
You can throw your elbow back,
Yes.
round one, and hit someone in the head, and you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can happen again, and then it can happen again, and you're fine. You're allowed to do it.
Buddy Franklin.
And then Buddy Franklin comes along, and all of a sudden it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then 2 days later, he goes to the tribunal, and it is okay.
Yeah.
And he gets off.
Yeah.
And then Bailey Fritsch puts an elbow up in a fend, and he gets off.
Yep.
And then Toby Greene does the same and gets 2 weeks, takes it to the tribunal, and he doesn't get off. He still gets 1 week. So it is as clear as mud
Yes.
in my eyes.
What's the issue? Is it one bloke sending stuff through to the match review?
The issue is the greyness in the grading. So grading, trying to work out whether a player's done something intentionally or recklessly, or whether it's high impact or medium impact or severe impact. It is so grey, but it's one person making the assessment every week in terms of the MRO. So you'd think you'd find a level of consistency. We haven't. And then the tribunal and the MRO are so far apart now that it just creates an absolute lottery. So I feel for Toby Greene.
Well, I don't know what he's supposed to do, Nick. I've never played a game of AFL. You've played heaps.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're supposed to do when you're going into a collision situation.
Yeah.
And you're trying to brace, protect yourself, in some ways protect the other bloke as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you don't put your arm up
So
in that
I think it's
situation.
the same conversation as the one we had at the start of the year where Dangerfield came in and bumped rather than tackle. So I think
right.
what you just have to do now is you just have to take the tackle if you're Toby Greene. And just accept that in that situation you're going to get tackled, so you can't put your arm up in as a bit of a
You're
a
going to win
bumper.
the ball, but then you must
But then
take
you
the
just got to take the I think that's where we've got to get to. So in that sense, if we want to protect the head, it's probably the right decision, but in the context of the year and everything that's happened already this year, it's not
Makes
the
no
right
sense,
decision because
yeah.
Toby Greene's the only one that's got a week for elbowing someone.
at this time of the year as well.
Yeah, and in what is tonight
A belter.
a massive game. So we get an elimination final in round 22. Still a week to go. So
Do they have as many blokes out as they did last week, GWS?
They got a stack out.
They've still got a stack out,
Stack
and
out,
now Toby's out.
And now Toby, he's a great player, but he's assumed the captaincy role this year. He's a spiritual leader. They rise as Toby sort of plays with that flair and that aggression that I think we've all come to admire. He was public enemy number one for a long period. But I think
the foot in the back mark,
all of
the
that.
karate kick.
But I reckon it's flipped now. I reckon everyone's come to appreciate the way he goes about it. Agreed, Will?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, thank you. If you please feel free to.
Yeah, I know.
No, I love watching Toby Greene.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed. But they welcome back Kelly, Hopper and Mumford
among 3 others tonight.
Yeah,
So.
big ins, but they've still got a really big injury list.
Big round of football as we move away from the area we were talking about off air.
It's a good lesson that all mics are live.
Always.
Always live.
Always
aren't they?
live. You're never not live. It's just what seeps out of the studio is the
So,
issue.
like at the start of the year when we got the briefing about, what you can and you can't say, and they always roll in a few of the blooper reels or slip-ups.
In the compliance training.
Yeah, that's right, where
Yeah.
people have not realised that stuff's actually gone live. There's some really good stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so sometimes I won't lag anyone in, but there's a couple. So the screens at the stadium that all stay on in the suites.
Yes.
The boxes.
Yeah, like the
around stadium.
TVs.
Yeah, it's like a raw feed. So sometimes you can be sitting in there and you're not on air and talking, and you can actually see the raw feed coming up in and around the screens.
Yeah.
Which is a slippery slope.
Absolutely.
And
it is.
actually, I heard a story about there was a cruise ship that was getting
the Ruby Princess it was called.
Yeah, well, that had all kinds of issues. It was getting the raw feed from a game,
No way.
and in between sort of half time
frightening.
break and stuff, there was a bit of stuff.
We got
getting
caught
spoken
out in
about.
here a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Waiting for a recorded interview to start, and we were just chatting in here like 3 blokes do.
Yeah,
And then when the line came up, the person down the other end just went, I just heard everything you blokes have been saying for the last
And remember,
3
Matt
minutes.
assured us that
Matt
person
assured
wouldn't be
us
able to
that we
hear.
couldn't be heard
put a lot of
outside
faith
the
in people like Matt.
Yeah.
Too much.
Far too much.
I don't know everything about the technology in here, but
Yes,
I
you
thought
do.
the mics being off would be enough.
No,
It
it's
was
not
not.
enough.
Yeah, always live.
Never trust a bloke who works in shorts. Apart from your good self.
Yeah.
Apart from your good self.
I'm a shorts wearer exclusively.
Matthew
So's Matt.
wears long pants maybe once every 2 weeks.
So Sam Newman.
He's a shorts man.
Yeah, he's a
too.
shorts man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it a little fresh. Football-wise, what
Oh,
else?
yeah, that's what we're here for.
What else do we like? We covered off the Giants and Richmond.
Yeah, I think we're saving the best till last this week. I think Fremantle and West Coast. I mean, it's a game that has relevance for both clubs.
West Coast have just dropped off the cliff.
Who are they?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Who's
they're-
Adam Simpson now?
Well, it's interesting when you follow Adam Simpson's record through since the 2018 grand final and compare it to that of Nathan Buckley's, who's now
Gone.
gone.
And
I mean,
how is that comparison?
They're not too dissimilar.
Right.
In fact, Collingwood have played in, and I think, one more finals since then than West Coast have.
And win-loss.
Yeah, that's right. So win-loss, Simpson's still in front, but gee, when you're dealing in absolutes, you either have or you haven't won a flag, and we know how tight that one was. You feel a bit for bucks in that situation. But this shapes as I think the game of the round. So we bookend it with 2 really good ones: the Giants and Richmond fighting for 8th spot, the West Coast still fighting to stay in, Fremantle fighting to get in, and it's the only one that's going to have a rocking crowd. So
Yes.
we're going to go the whole weekend with really limited crowds, and then a packed Optus Stadium over in Perth. So that one's I think going to be a really good one.
Could North beat Sydney?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could. North
That'd
are playing
be interesting.
North are playing decent footy. I know you
They're playing
always.
three-quarter footy.
Yeah, they're playing decent footy. So even like last week against Richmond at half time, they're up. They're looking like really good things, and then they fall away, which can happen with a young group. But
Is that just fatigue or is it
yeah,
mental pressure?
it's a bit of fatigue. I mean, you've got young players, and just the ability to sustain it for long periods is what takes a little bit of time. But
At this time of the year when you were playing, were you personally fatigued, or how are you getting up and about? Because you played a lot of footy by this time of the year.
Depends the situation you're in as a team. If you're gearing towards finals and you've got a spring in your step, you look outside, the weather starts to improve a little bit, and you think, gee, how good that we're relevant at this time of year. Conversely, if you know you're not playing finals, then you can see it. It happens in football clubs. You almost limp to the line a little bit. So I think sides that are out of contention, North Melbourne, there's probably a little bit of that happening for them. St Kilda Geelong is the other one. I mean, Geelong is, looking like they've locked in a top 4 spot. St Kilda are just hanging around, looking for that 8th spot. They haven't won down there in over 20 years.
Jeez, I did not know that.
Which is, they're up against it. But I know, GWS last week, did you see they used as a reference point, they showed the
Miracle on Ice.
Miracle on
Yeah.
Ice, Will. Yeah.
1980 US versus Russia in the ice hockey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Leon Cameron used it as a motivational tool, and then the Giants boys came in after the game, and we didn't know it at this stage, but they all started the USA chant when they were lining up.
And everyone's like,
to
what's
sing the
going
song.
on
It's
here?
like, what are these blokes going on about?
Well,
But
that's why North were using Mighty Ducks for years. One of the great ice
Coach
movies.
Gordon Bombay. Yeah. What did he impart on them? Coach Bombay. My boys are obsessed with that movie.
Yeah. It's
Triangle?
Yeah, the Flying V.
Yeah, the Flying V.
Flying V. Yeah, see, Jack Zeeble runs back into the back line. He's like,
Fly, boys. Mate, have a lovely weekend. Always lovely to see you.
8:50. Nick Riewoldt. Chat to you next week.
The Marty Sheargold Show. Triple M.